The nurse discovered a decomposed patient still breathing in the abandoned hospital basement, with a tag on the crib showing the mother never left. The decayed remains of a woman sat motionless beside it, clutching a blanket, her eyes following every movement of the renovation crew. Jennifer Hayes, a veteran nurse of 27 years at St. Augustine Memorial Hospital, had seen plenty of disturbing cases in her career: cardiac arrests, traumatic injuries, terminal diagnoses, but nothing prepared her for what awaited beneath the hospital's aging foundation. The discovery happened during a routine renovation of the East Wing's basement, a long-neglected section that had been sealed off since the 1970s. The construction crew had broken through a wall that, according to the original blueprints, shouldn't have existed. Behind it lay a hidden ward, untouched for decades, the air inside stale and heavy with decay. "At first, I thought we'd stumbled onto some kind of storage area," said Robert Malone, the head of the renovation team. "Old medical equipment, forgotten supplies, that sort of thing. But then we heard it, this soft, rhythmic sound, like labored breathing. That's when we called for medical staff. Jennifer was the first medical professional on scene. The fluorescent lights flickered as she stepped into the hidden ward, casting eerie shadows across what appeared to be an abandoned maternity section. Old cribs lined the walls, their metal frames consumed by rust. Medical charts, yellowed with age, still hung from their designated hooks. But it was what lay in the corner that caused Jennifer to drop her flashlight. In the farthest crib from the entrance, partially hidden beneath a moldy blanket, lay what appeared to be the remains of an infant. The body was in an impossible state, withered and decayed, as if dead for decades, yet unmistakably moving. Its chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. Its fingers, blackened and skeletal, clutched at the air. "I couldn't process what I was seeing," Jennifer later told investigators, her hands trembling as she recounted the events. "It defied everything I know about medicine, about life and death. That child should not have been alive." But it was the figure beside the crib that truly caused the veteran nurse's blood to run cold. Seated in a rusted metal chair was what remained of a woman, her body in an advanced state of decomposition. Her skin had long since shriveled against her bones, her hospital gown rotted to mere threads. A plastic identification bracelet still clung to her wrist, partially legible despite decades of decay. The name on the bracelet read Elizabeth Chambers, with an admission date of April 17, 1973. Most disturbing of all was the crib's identifying tag, still intact after all these years. It didn't just show the infant's details, it bore a handwritten note from a staff member dated nearly 50 years ago. "Mother refuses to leave. Administration has been notified." Dr. Marcus Blackwood, chief medical examiner for the county and a specialist in forensic pathology, was immediately called to the scene. With 35 years of experience examining unusual deaths, he believed he had seen everything the medical field could offer. He was wrong. "In all my years of practice, I have never encountered anything like this," Dr. Blackwood stated, his clinical demeanor noticeably shaken. "By all scientific standards, both mother and child should have been long deceased. The level of tissue degradation suggests death occurred approximately 50 years ago, yet we observed undeniable signs of ongoing biological processes in both subjects." As the examination continued, workers began to experience severe headaches and nosebleeds. 2 construction workers collapsed and had to be hospitalized after spending less than 10 minutes in the hidden ward. Medical equipment malfunctioned in proximity to the crib, with batteries draining instantaneously and digital displays showing impossible readings. The thermometers registered temperatures below freezing directly around the crib, explained Dr. Blackwood, despite the room itself maintaining a consistent 68 degrees. "Our radiation detectors went off the charts, then stopped working entirely. When the hospital administration was questioned about the hidden ward, their responses were evasive at best. Records from the 1970s revealed that the East Wing had indeed housed a maternity ward, but all documentation regarding its closure and sealing were mysteriously absent from the archives. One former administrator, speaking on condition of anonymity, provided a disturbing account. There was an incident in '73. A young woman, unmarried, came to deliver her baby. There were complications. The child was severely deformed, not expected to survive. The mother refused to accept this. She barricaded herself in one of the rooms, wouldn't let anyone near the baby. Security was called, but by then, something had changed. The staff who entered that room were never the same afterward. Hospital records confirmed that in the months following April 1973, 8 staff members resigned without notice. 2 were admitted to psychiatric facilities. 1 committed suicide, leaving only a note that read, "She's still watching me." The discovery grew even more sinister when investigators began interviewing elderly residents who had worked at St. Augustine during that era. Maria Gonzalez, a janitorial supervisor, now in her 80s, trembled visibly when asked about Elizabeth Chambers. "We were told never to go into that section," she whispered, making the sign of the cross. Sometimes at night, we would hear singing coming from behind the wall, a lullaby, always the same one. But the worst part was the smell, like something rotting, but also something sweet, like flowers at a funeral. Forensic analysis of the scene revealed anomalies that defied scientific explanation. The dust in the room contained no organic particles, no skin cells, no hair, no bacteria, as if nothing had lived or died there for decades. Yet the air itself tested positive for elevated levels of carbon dioxide, consistent with ongoing respiration. The most disturbing evidence came from the security footage of the renovation crew's discovery. In the initial recording, the decomposed woman appears motionless, her head bowed over the crib. Yet in frame-by-frame analysis, her position changes subtly between shots, her head gradually turning toward the camera, until, in the final frames, her hollow eye sockets appear to stare directly into the lens. Dr. Blackwood's preliminary report noted, Subject A, adult female, exhibits complete cessation of all biological functions consistent with death occurring approximately 5 decades prior. No cardiac activity, no respiratory function, no cellular metabolism detectable. Subject B, infant, presents a biological paradox. Tissues show advanced necrosis yet maintain minimal metabolic activity. Cellular samples degrade immediately upon removal from the subject, making further analysis impossible. The examination was abruptly halted when, during the collection of tissue samples, the infant subject emitted a high-pitched sound described by witnesses as neither a cry nor a scream, but something in between. Simultaneously, all lights in the hospital flickered, and 3 floors of electronic medical records were inexplicably corrupted. Jennifer Hayes, who had remained to assist with the examination, later recounted the most chilling detail. When the baby made that sound, the mother moved. Not like a body settling or air escaping, she moved deliberately. Her head turned toward Dr. Blackwood, and her fingers tightened around the blanket she was holding. I saw it. We all saw it. The hospital administration quickly moved to contain the situation. The basement was sealed off, the renovation project suspended indefinitely. A statement was issued citing structural concerns and hazardous materials as the reason for the closure. No mention was made of Elizabeth Chambers or her impossibly preserved child, but the story refused to remain buried. Hospital staff began reporting strange occurrences throughout the facility. Patients in rooms directly above the sealed basement complained of hearing lullabies during the night. Monitors would display heartbeats where there should be none. Most disturbing were the reports from the current maternity ward. Mothers waking to find their infants' cribs moved closer to the doors, as if someone had tried to take them. One night nurse, Emma Sullivan, quit after claiming she saw a severely decomposed woman in a faded hospital gown standing over a newborn. She was singing to it, Emma stated in her resignation letter. When I blinked, she was gone, but the baby's monitoring bracelet had been removed and replaced with an old paper tag. It had that name on it, Elizabeth Chambers. The investigation took an even darker turn when researchers discovered hospital birth records from 1973. Elizabeth Chambers had indeed been admitted on April 17th of that year. According to the intake forms, she was 22 years old, unmarried, and had received no prenatal care. The delivery notes were sparse, with only one troubling entry. Infant presents with severe congenital abnormalities incompatible with life. Mother informed. Psychiatric consult requested. What happened after that remained undocumented in the official record. However, an interview with retired physician Dr. Harold Montgomery, now residing in a nursing home and suffering from advanced dementia, yielded disturbing fragments. "She wouldn't let it die," Dr. Montgomery repeated during lucid moments. "We told her it wouldn't survive the night. Its lungs weren't formed properly. Its heart was wrong. But she said she'd found a way, said she'd made a deal." When pressed about what kind of deal, the elderly doctor became agitated. "The lights kept going out in that room, equipment would fail, and the temperature, so cold, like a meat locker. That's what we should have done, locked them both away, because she's still feeding it, you know, still feeding it after all these years." The doctor's cryptic statement led investigators to re-examine the physical evidence. The decayed woman's remains showed an anomaly that had initially been overlooked: a deep, circular wound on her left wrist, directly over the radial artery. Similar wounds were found on her neck and inner thighs, all positioned over major blood vessels. The pattern suggested repeated, deliberate cutting. Most disturbing was the condition of the infant's mouth. Despite the advanced decay of its facial tissues, the oral cavity contained traces of what forensic analysis identified as human blood. The type matched the adult female subject. The evidence suggests a prolonged pattern of the mother feeding her own blood to the infant, Dr. Blackwood stated in his confidential report, later leaked to the press. Based on the wound patterns, this behavior continued long after conventional medical science would indicate that both individuals had expired. The implications were horrifying. Had Elizabeth Chambers somehow sustained her dying child through some macabre form of nourishment? And how had both mother and child remained in a state of partial animation for nearly 5 decades? The mystery deepened when researchers discovered a series of complaints filed by maintenance staff in the years following 1973. Workers reported equipment failures and power fluctuations in the East Wing. Several noted an ongoing issue with the hospital's blood supply. Bags would be found drained or missing entirely, particularly rare types that matched Elizabeth Chambers' blood type. One maintenance report from 1975 simply stated, "Continuing problems with rodents in East Wing basement. Evidence of something dragging small animals through ventilation system towards sealed section. Recommend permanent closure of all access points." As news of the discovery spread, religious leaders and paranormal investigators descended on St. Augustine Memorial. The Catholic Church sent a representative to determine if an exorcism might be necessary. Physicists proposed theories about quantum states of suspended animation. Evolutionary biologists suggested the possibility of an unknown form of human hibernation triggered by extreme circumstances. None could fully explain what had been found in that forgotten basement room. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, the hospital announced plans to permanently seal the basement with concrete and relocate all patients to a new facility being constructed across town. The decision came after a series of inexplicable deaths in the maternity ward. 3 infants, all born healthy, found deceased in their cribs with no medical cause apparent. Each had a single, small wound on their heel, drained of approximately 30 milliliters of blood. The night before the basement was to be sealed, Jennifer Hayes made an unauthorized visit to the hidden ward. She later claimed she felt compelled to go, drawn by what she described as a mother's cry for help. What she found there would haunt her for the rest of her life. "The crib was empty," she told authorities, her voice barely above a whisper. "Both the child and the mother were gone, but there was a trail, like something had been dragged across the floor. It led to the ventilation shaft, and on the wall, written in what looked like dried blood, were 2 words, 'Still hungry.'" A hospital-wide search yielded nothing. The ventilation system was examined, revealing years of accumulated dust, disturbed by something moving through the narrow passages. The trail led throughout the building's extensive ductwork, eventually disappearing at a breach that opened to the outside world. In the weeks that followed, local police received multiple reports of break-ins at blood banks and medical facilities within a 50-mile radius of St. Augustine Memorial. Security footage from one such incident showed a hunched, emaciated figure carrying what appeared to be a bundle wrapped in a decayed hospital blanket. The figure's movements were jerky, unnatural, as if its body no longer functioned according to normal human physiology. Dr. Blackwood, who continued to study the case despite official orders to desist, proposed a disturbing theory. What we may be witnessing is a previously undocumented form of symbiotic relationship between the mother and child. The mother, through some mechanism we don't yet understand, has sustained her child beyond death by providing her own blood. As her body decayed, the need to find external sources would have grown. The child, in turn, may be providing something that keeps the mother animated, perhaps through some exchange of hormones or electrical impulses that science has yet to identify. The implications of such a theory were too terrible to contemplate. A mother and child, neither fully alive nor truly dead, sustaining each other through some macabre exchange, driven by maternal instinct perverted beyond all natural bounds. 6 months after the discovery, St. Augustine Memorial Hospital was demolished. The official explanation cited structural issues and asbestos contamination. The basement was filled with concrete before the demolition, sealed away permanently, or so everyone hoped. Yet in the years since, residents living near the empty lot where the hospital once stood report strange sightings. A hunched figure carrying a bundle, moving through the shadows at night. Young mothers speak of waking to find someone standing over their infants' cribs, the room filled with the smell of decay and the soft sound of a lullaby. Most disturbing are the reports from the new hospital across town. Despite enhanced security measures and state-of-the-art monitoring systems, blood continues to go missing from the storage banks. Occasionally, in the maternity ward, newborns are found with small, unexplained puncture wounds on their extremities. The amount of blood missing is always the same, 30 milliliters. Just enough to sustain something that refuses to die. Jennifer Hayes, who resigned from nursing shortly after her encounter in the basement, now lives in seclusion. Her final statement to investigators remains the most chilling assessment of what was discovered beneath St. Augustine Memorial. "Some bonds were never meant to be broken," she said. "Not by death, not by time, not by nature itself." Elizabeth Chambers found a way to keep her child alive when medicine couldn't. But what she created isn't life. It's something else, something that hungers. And I believe it's still out there, still growing. Because that's what children do. They grow. And someday, whatever that child has become will be strong enough that it won't need its mother anymore. That's what truly terrifies me. The case of Elizabeth Chambers and her impossible child remains officially classified as an unsolved medical anomaly. The hospital records have been sealed by court order, the physical evidence locked away in government storage facilities. The official position maintains that what was discovered was likely the result of unique preservation conditions combined with collective hysteria among the witnesses. But one piece of evidence remains unexplained, a recording from a baby monitor in the maternity ward of the new hospital captured just last month. In it, beneath the static and electronic interference, a woman's voice can be heard, whispering the same phrase over and over. "Mother knows best. Mother feeds. Mother never leaves." The most recent development came just 3 days ago, when a night janitor at the new hospital captured a brief video on his phone. The footage shows a darkened hallway in the maternity section. For the first few seconds, nothing appears unusual. Then, emerging from the shadows, a withered hand comes into frame, followed by the partial glimpse of a face, desiccated, corpse-like, yet somehow animated. The janitor drops the phone in terror, and the video ends. Experts who have analyzed the footage disagree on its authenticity. But one detail stands out to those familiar with the case. Around the figure's wrist, barely visible in the dim light, is a faded hospital bracelet. What truly happened in the basement of St. Augustine Memorial? Was Elizabeth Chambers' desperate love for her child powerful enough to transcend the boundaries between life and death? Or did something else enter that hospital room in 1973? something that recognized a mother's grief and desperation as the perfect vessel for perpetuating itself? The answers remain elusive. But one thing is certain. Somewhere in the darkness, a mother still cradles her impossible child, feeding it with whatever she can find, moving through the shadows of our world. And her child grows stronger with each passing day. Have you checked on your children tonight? Are you certain the sounds you hear through the baby monitor are really just static? If you've experienced anything unusual around hospitals or maternity wards, share your story in the comments below. And subscribe to our channel for more investigations into the unexplained cases that authorities have tried to keep hidden from the public. Because some truths refuse to remain buried, just like the mother who never left.